Well, thankfully the Buxton base is still working pretty well for us here at Buxton off back of that horror start we did have to this season today. Going to play our two toughest games for a little while, at least in terms of the league. We take on Rochdale away and then South Shields at home. Hello everyone and welcome back to episode number 18 of Rookie to Royalty here on Shaun Does FM with Buxton FC. I hope you're doing well and coming up today, as I said in the intro, we've got two pretty tough games coming up. To be fair, our toughest for a little while, at least in terms of on paper. We take on Rochdale away from home. They sit in 8th, but we're predicted to finish 6th. We're expected to be in the playoff hunt this season here in the Vanarama National League. And off the back of that, we take on South Shields. Interesting team, this one. I'm pretty sure we didn't beat them last season, even when we finished above them to gain automatic promotion. But of course, they made their way up through the playoffs. They were predicted to be right up there and are currently sitting in 3rd, albeit their recent form has taken a turn. So hopefully we can make the most of that. If they're a team that can lose to Morecambe, surely we've got a good chance of beating them. I think it might be for the first time, especially with that one being back at our home stadium. But we've just played one game off the back of yesterday's episode where unfortunately we did suffer our first defeat since the tactical tweak we did make at the start of this week when we took on Fold. Unfortunately, a 1-0 loss there. Before then though, a draw versus York City and a win over Woking, albeit that one was off camera. If you want to catch up on that episode, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner. As I said, just one game since then. To be fair, it was a bit of a banana skin game, I thought, seeing as a few tired players off the back of that midweek game did mean we had to rotate just a little bit, but thankfully, probably our most impressive performance since the tactical switch so far here with Buxton. We pick up a 4-1 win over Scunthorpe United, who I'm pretty sure with a team that got automatic promotion from the National League North that season, where we took over and had to keep these guys up. So that's actually a pretty good result with that rotation that we did do. You can see there Leeson, he was at right back, Mohammed at centre back, Hayden Lindley, he got a run, as did Caden Kelly, and David Carson-Lahane, he got a start as well. So a fair bit of rotation for this game, but thankfully it paid off. Leeson with a goal, then Kelly from the spot, Lindley with a screamer just before half-time, Ryan McLean in the second half there to cancel out a goal through Edmondson to get Scunthorpe back in the game. But that overall was a pretty good performance, 13 shots, 8 on target, a higher XG, and we pick up a pretty comfortable win, our most comfortable win so far here in the Vanarama National League. So it does mean we've bounced back from that Fold defeat and sit pretty close to smack being mid-table here in the Vanarama National League. We're on 12 points, 3-3-3 is our record from 9 games so far, and we're 6 points clear of those teams inside the relegation zones. All of a sudden, looking pretty good here off the back of that horrific start, that 6-2 defeat to South United. That's looking all the more worse each time we come back for an episode, because they're now down in 18th, not too sure what was happening on that opening day, but they actually look quite rubbish despite the media prediction for those guys. But today, we take on two teams who also should be quite good. But to be fair, these two teams are doing a decent job so far this season. First up, we've got Rochdale, predicted to finish 6th. They sit in 8th, their recent form. A little bit mixed. They thumped Morecambe, did draw off York City, the same result that we picked up before then, though. They've lost to Bradford and Aldershot and drew with Ebbsfleet's. Their form not too dissimilar to ours, honestly, so far this season, at least in terms of those recent performances. Hopefully here we can find a way to do something at the Crown Royal Arena, albeit so far with this Buxton base, it has just seemed to struggle ever so slightly away from home compared to what it does when we are at home. You can see the form there, apart from Morecambe, who were going dreadfully when we took them on there in that second game with the tactical switch. We have just been a bit average away from home. I say we've been a bit average. Only played the one game, that 1-0 defeat to Fold. So far, just a little bit iffy away from home here with this tactic. But considering how well it did when we took on Scunthorpe, no chance in heck that we're changing it off the back of a 4-1 win. So hopefully can do a decent job here before we come back and take on South Shields. Of course, this was the team that were red-hot favourites in our division last season, and we bet them to the toll they had to go by the playoffs. They were right up the early stages of the season, but coming to this episode off the back of 3 straight defeats, their most recent one quite concerning. Morecambe have found some recent form, but still, they're not doing as well as they were anticipated to. So South Shields are still up there in 3rd, but early stages of the season. We're right up there near the top alongside Ebbsfleet United. They have just dropped off a little bit off the back of 6 straight wins to start their season. So hopefully they might lose another while we take on Rochdale here first up. In today's episode, also a quick update as well on our manager. Still can't ask for a coaching course here, still stuck with our National C licence. Also, our faces disappeared for some reason, but to be fair, we don't mind that considering it was a cartoony one. We have been bumped up though to a 1.5 star reputation, so that is something of note. It does mean now that we're actually technically bigger than the club, so that could be something interesting we could use next time we want a coaching badge. Maybe we do something silly like threaten to leave to be if you're not too sure if we want to do that off the back of a Tycoon takeover here, but still, we might be able to use that in our favour, seeing as we are overachieving here currently with Buxton. Let's hope it continues the next time that we are able to ask to try and get our National B licence made. All the more frustrating by the fact that most staff here not too sure if it will pop up if we go over here on the screen. I don't think it does, but there's a few guys here who are studying for further licenses. There's one there in Peter Hughes. He's currently going for his Continental A licence. To be fair, feeling a bit duped there by the Australian Tycoon. He's not letting us get our National B. To be fair, I suppose during the season it does make sense not to, but still, he could have given that to us during the off-season, but of course, he's afraid we'll leave for a bigger club now. Can kind of see why, with that reputation boost, we're kind of bigger than the club, which is never a good situation, albeit when it's a manager. I suppose it's not too bad, but hopefully can go off here to a good start back up there. Really good 4-1 win we did pick up when I took on Scunthorpe off camera. You'll see that Max McKnight is still not recommended to play. He's nearly back from that injury 4 days away, but thankfully that's the only injury concern we do have coming in to this first game of today's episode, so hopefully can get through this one nicely. To be fair, of course, we do have the other right back in Pinion, who's supposed to be a bit better anyway, so hopefully he'll do the job while McKnight is out with injury, and also got players like Leeson as well as Muhammad and Carson who can do a job in that position. It's not too bad with that injury, but hopefully he'll be back in time. Might be able to gain some fitness when we play our only qualifying game in the FA Cup this season. The withdrawal is supposed to be coming off the back of this game that we are about to play, so we'll see who we get off the back of this trip to Rochdale. Hopefully be a team from below us in the pyramid and can make our way through to the first round, because that is what the board expect. But Rochdale, they're going with a pretty defensive formation. To be fair, that does seem to be quite a bit of a theme here with teams in the Vanarama National League. Even teams like Bradford, expected to be the preseason favourites, are going with that defensive formation. But in terms of us, it's our best 11 with Kazim still in there at left back over Jake Leake. That is based on performance. To be fair, could be doing a couple of other changes, maybe Caden Kelly over Sebastian Williams, but we'll just see how he gets on, because he is a new player here to the club. But so far, Kazim actually outperforming Jake Leake, which is not what you'd expect considering that Jake Leake was here for all of last season. But so far, this game has been dominated by the home team, and eventually the first highlight of free kick to Rochdale. They play it over the top. Edwards will square that one there for Minnie, who puts that one home. It's a poor start from us here. We go 1-0 down early, so unfortunately a little bit slow of the blocks, which to be fair is becoming a little bit of a theme here with this Buxton team. Even ever since we've taken over, we have just been a little bit of a slow starter in some games, tended to build into games from around half-hour mark for the most part. So hopefully can find a way to fix that. We eventually get a first shot off in this game, but it doesn't come till just shy of the half-hour mark. Rochdale all over us so far. We'll demand more and see if that gets something out of the boys here before half-time. But so far, this has been pretty similar to the Fold game. A disappointing performance as George Morgan picks up a yellow card that could impact us from set piecing, as he's our big weapon there at 1.91 metres tall, our striker. So probably going to take him off here at half-time for Lahane. But apart from that, performance-wise, the ratings aren't too terrible, just not doing a lot with that low tempo we are using now. I'm going to make a change here. Colville as well will move to right wing. McLean out left. It has worked before in some games I've played. For some reason they really shouldn't, because I'm pretty sure that Colville doesn't have a right foot, but for some reason when he goes out right, he does sometimes score goals. So we'll see what does happen if we make that change here going into the second half. If it pays off here, might need to consider it as a more permanent move, and McLean can go out left. Now we're going to take off there Williams, who picks up a yellow card early in the second half for Caden Kelly. But so far, showing a bit more life here since half-time, and now Kazim picks up a yellow card with our final sub. We'll bring on Jake Leake. He'll get a chance here to stake his claim for some more regular football, but we're done there down that right-hand side. Thankfully, that ball's a bit too deep, but now Roberts gets this one back here for Rochdale. Someone there goes down bad. It was McLean. They put a ball far post, but thankfully, that header just goes past Casper and over the bar, not ghosting us that time. But to be fair, stats-wise now, this game's quite even. And a free kick with about a half hour left. We go far post, and Luca Colville will put that one away. Now, to be fair, not too sure if that's got much to do with that switch we made. He might have been there anyway from set piece, but still, he goes out to right wing. That's the second time we've done that, and he's scored a goal now. We're sitting on a 6.4, gets bumped up to a 7.1, but now we level things up, and to be fair, that's pretty fortunate because so far in this game, we haven't been too good, albeit the second half have been showing a bit more life than we were in the first. Of course, used up all our subs. It's not much we can do here late in this game. We'll keep with this basic Buxton-based tactic and see if we can find a way to maybe grab a winner off the back of that Colville equaliser, but very little highlights off the back of that goal. In fact, none. We make our way through to full time and away from home again. I think that's a result that will take that switch again at the wings. It does help us out. Also taking off Morgan at halftime. Not too sure if that paid off. Lahani only going fairly, but Jake Leake a 7.0 when we bring him on for Kazim. So I think a couple of our subs there and changes did pay off in the second half. We might see if it's going to be something that needs to be done, that wing change. We'll see how we get on when we take on South Shields in our next game. But that's pretty good for us there off the back of a pretty poor first half. We're able to pinch a point there off of Rochdale and keep ourselves 6 points clear of the relegation zone. So a solid point for us there first up in today's episode away at Rochdale. Off the back of that, we do have the draw for the final qualifying round of the FA Cup. We take on a team that honestly we should be beating these days. Rochdale Olympic, you might be familiar with that name if you've watched all this series so far, because they're from down in the Vanarama National League North, and they're usually predicted to be in that lower to mid-table area, not usually threatened by relegation, but also not really threatening the top half of the table. To be fair, the recent form actually has been quite good, so they might go off there to a horrible start in that division, but they're sitting in 16th. We're doing quite well in the Vanarama National League, considering where we were expected to be finishing. So hopefully that's a team we can beat, especially as that tie is at home and can meet the board expectations of making our way through to the first round of the FA Cup, that FA Cup proper. A lot less games to make that happen than we had here last season. But now we're going to take on South Shields here second up in today's episode. Speaking of the Vanarama National League North, this was the team who came up via the playoffs, got off to a great start this season, but they have now dropped quite a few points in a row, backing up those 3 losses with a draw against York City. So with this one being at home, I'm quite hopeful we can actually pick up 3 points against these guys. We'll just check what has happened the last couple of times we've taken these guys on. That would be those last couple of games here in 2024 and 2025. And indeed, as I suspected, it was 2 draws. So far, neither of us have beaten each other since I've taken over. We'll see with home advantage and that change from a fluid counter-attacking style to one that's a bit more control position. We'll be in the inbox off the back of that most recent game that we were saying it's a wing play system, so maybe it's a little bit of a hybrid we've got going there with our Buxton base, but hopefully can find a way to beat these guys while they're in poor form, and that could put us in quite a nice spot to potentially start getting on the verge of a playoff spot this season, which is certainly something I wasn't expecting to say with this Buxton team, especially off the back of that hammering we copped from South United at the start of the season. Now, one change to our team for this game, Zach Henry comes in for George Morgan. The yellow card he picked up in that previous game does mean that he's suspended. Unfortunately, Lahane is on a heavy workload, a little bit too injury prone. So coming straight in there from our under-21s is Zach Henry. If you're wondering, he's a bit better than Taylor, who is currently underbid on loan, so might not be here for too much longer before his contract does expire at the end of the season. To be fair, it should get our wage budget up to around 1k again, so maybe could sign an extra player to maybe improve someone like Connor Kirby, because honestly, so far this season, he's been pretty average, albeit that could just be that balling midfield role. I think they always get poor ratings in that role, so maybe that's a bit of a waste there of money. And to be fair, so far, since the tactical switch, we are doing quite well, so not too sure if we want to bring any new players here at Buxton. But South Shields coming to this one in some pretty average form off the back of 6 wins from 6 to start their season. Hopefully can make the most of that. Still sticking with McLean out right and Colville out left, because I did check attribute-wise. They should be on their right sides, especially with that fluidness as we discussed during that first game in today's episode. But for some reason, it seems to be the other way around. That works in the match engine. So if we have to do that again, we will. But so far this game has been incredibly quiet. Coming up now to the 35-minute mark, McLean goes down to a red heart, which is not ideal. Hopefully be able to keep him on there. In fact, he's bumped up now to a deep yellow. So thankfully, just a bit of a knock there for McLean. But this first half has been up to nothing. a bit concerning considering that we are at home with a one-shot South Shields free, both teams one on target, we're dominating position, but nothing to show for it. Henry out there on a 6.4, a bit of a concern, but I think here what we're going to do is just tell the guys we're not taking enough shots. Let's try and be a bit more attacking here in the second half, but so far it's been very quiet this one, locked up at 0 also. Beefy both games today, not up to too much in terms of the highlights that we have been seeing, or at least a lack of them in these two games that we've made our way through nearly now, as they pick up a yellow card there early in the second half to South Shields. Fingers crossed we can make the most of that, but finally there's a highlight here and we are on the ball. Colville plays that to Murphy inside the box, takes on a shot there from a tight angle, it's deflected, and that was a pretty average opening highlight in this game. Now coming up now to the hour mark, and Colville's only on a 6.4, so this time we'll take him off here for Charlie Pavey on the bench today, as Caden Kelly is another player quite injury prone coming into this game. So Pavey makes his way up from the under 21s, and also Lahane will bring on there for a struggling Henry coming up from the under 21s. Now Ryan McLean on a red heart, but no real subs for him. Also though, Kazim on a red heart, doing a lot better today than he did in that previous game, but Jake Lee again, he can come on off the bench, and we'll see what that final sub does do for us here with only 25 minutes left in this game. But to be fair, a draw against South Shields wouldn't be too bad, but at home I was kind of hoping with their poor recent form we could pick up something a bit more here, as now Charlie Pavey gets an injury, so that's not ideal there. Got a red-hearted right winger and a left winger on an orange injury, and now here it's a set piece to the South Shields. They put that one far post, but thankfully Matt Smith put a big hand last season and a turnaround from them against us. I think that game also was here at home. I think we were up there 3-1 at one stage. He then completed a hat-trick and they came back to draw that game. He's still there, but thankfully put that one over the bar. South Shields there, did the ball off the back of that goal kick, but thankfully a good footer there does win that ball back for us, albeit that's a poor pass there looking. I think that was for Midgley in midfield. Now Dubole starts to make his way here into our half and goes out right, but Kelly, good work from him, plays it back there to Hewlett, who passes that one across there for Kirby. It's not quite in the money, and Sousa can pick that one up. It's a poor pass there across the face of goal from Hewlett, and it's costly. We go 1-0 down. Off the back of that, just because why not, we'll try McLean at left wing and Pavey at right wing. Not too sure if this is going to work at all, considering it's not Colville that we're switching him with, but if it works again, we might have to put McLean at left wing for good, because it's definitely had an impact so far. But unfortunately, a poor pass there across the face of goal looking for Kirby. Wasn't quite on the money, and Sousa could pick that one up and put it away. So we'll see if that slight change we make works, because to be fair, we couldn't do too much else here, having already used up all our subs. A nice ball through there to Alice Lahane, but it's just off target. Big chance for him there to make it 1-1 with 10 minutes left. But now we had the ball again there, but unfortunately a poor pass does mean that South Shields are back in action. But visually, good interception, and we get the ball back here. McLean plays that one back for Leake and goes for, he must be absolutely naked on that red heart, but can still find Lahane inside the box, and this time he puts it away. So two good chances for Lahane off the back of that first goal, which South Shields did score. Still don't know how to say his name, Lahane or Lahane. Someone let me know how you say the Spurs player's name, but thankfully he puts that one away there. Does our backup striker, he's on a heavy workload, don't get injured now, off the back of getting us back in this game and making it 1-1. Also thankfully not behind for too long there. And again McLean, we move out left and he does quite well, and only a few minutes on here, about to make our way into 5 extra. We've got to throw in inside of the final third. Pinion puts that one far post, and Lahane will head that one home. All of a sudden, we're looking really, really good here in this game, and we make it 2-1, and South Shields are going proper Botley here at the Tarmac Silverlands. We just float that one far post there through Alfie Pinion, and Lahane gets himself on a hat-trick. McLean was there too, so certainly of an impact since we moved him to left wing. That's definitely something now we might have to do going into the next couple of games I do play off camera, but Lahane will head that one home. Off the back of that, we will start to time waste quite frequently in this game with that lead, and also not pass into space, because this is looking quite good. 3 points from this game, considering we were 1-0 down only about 10 or so minutes ago. So all of a sudden we've turned this around, but left it very, very late. But let's hope we still hold on here and pick up all 3 points. Now making our way deep into 5 minutes of added time. A late free kick. We put that one into the mix. So thankfully Pavey will get that ball back for us, plays it forward there to Adelusi, squares it for Alice Lahan, who's onside. It's a late hat-trick there for our striker who comes off the bench. Probably should have started him, but of course, that heavy workload, so that's why we put Zach Henry in there over him. But a late hat-trick from him does mean we're going to pick up all 3 points here. A late snatch and grab against South Shields, albeit at home. Not too sure if snatch and grab is what you should be doing in your home games, but we'll take that one because we looked in trouble there when we conceded that goal to Sousa off the back of a poor pass across the face of goal. Pretty sure that was from Hewlett, who still gets a pretty good rating there at the back, but then we made a very slight switch, changing our wingers yet again. For some reason, that just works here at Buxton, so I think now we'll put McLean out left and Colville out right when we play our next game off camera, which to be fair is against Tamworth and near rock bottom. So I think that's a game that we can definitely win without too much tactical tweaking, but that is a big comeback. A Lahane hat-trick there, 8 shots on target from our 10 overall. So a very good ratio there for our shots to shots on target. That's quite helpful in that late comeback, but Lahane there coming off the bench for Henry, a big difference maker, as of course was switching McLean out to left wing again. So as I said, that might be now a bit of a permanent move, but let's see what that does to the table there. 3 big points to keep South Shields on the slide here in the Vanarama National League, and we move up to 13th, and now we're 8 points clear of the relegation zone. So a big comeback late from us there, second up in today's episode, turning around that 1-0 deficit with a little bit there of a switch of wings to make it 3-1 there, thanks to an Alice Lahane hat-trick. Big late impact there from the former Spurs man. He's now got 4 goals in 7 games for us, to be fair, not doing too badly. The problem being that George Morgan, when he's not suspended, also doing quite well. Let's find him down here. There he is, no longer suspended. It's probably going to take on Tamworth in a couple of days' time, but he's got 7 and 9. And is 1.89 metres tall, not quite as tall as I said earlier, but a bit more threatening from set piece. So I think Morgan still keeps his spot there as the first choice striker, but very handy. We've got 2 good options here this season at Buxton, unlike what we had back down in the Vanarama National League North. Charlie Pavey did get injured 3 to 6 days, not too bad to be fair. He probably now goes down to our under-21s anyway, with Caden Kelly getting a rest in that game. He should be fine for when we take on Tamworth. And a couple of items there, Lahane, super impressive off the bench, but again, I think there might have more to do with that change of wings that we made there. Ross is pleased for the supporters. The dynamics here, no doubt, will be very good off the back of that performance. In fact, managerial support has gone up to excellent off the back of it being down at average, off the back of that poor start to the season, our first 3 games here in the National League. But I think now what I need to do is just make one more tactical tweak here to this base. We'll change those wingers around because so far that does seem to have made a big difference here with this Buxton team late on in games. So we'll put here Colville as a winger on support. It definitely works out attribute-wise that they should be the other way around, but for some reason in the match engine, they want it this way. So we'll put it this way if it's working better in game. McLean out left and Colville out right, and hopefully we can now keep up this good form in this next little stretch we have, because it does look on paper be quite a bit easier than what we've had so far this season, starting off with an away trip to the bottom team in the league in Tamworth. But I think that will do it for today's episode. 2 good results there, a draw at Rochdale and a 3-1 win, a big comeback late there against South Shields. If you enjoyed that one, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. Now, what we come back for in tomorrow's episode probably depends if we make our way through to the first round of the FA Cup. We should be, as I mentioned before that game, Rochdale Olympic. That's a team we should be beating, especially with that one being at home. So depending on when the first round does fall for the FA Cup, we'll just try and see here when it's supposed to take place on the 1st of November. So not too sure if that's something that we come back for next episode. In fact, it probably is. So I think we'll plan around the first round of the FA Cup there at the start of November. If we're not in that though, those games at the start of November, they look a bit tougher than Tamworth, Yeovil, Town, Solihull, Moors, or Boreham Wood. We take on Barnet, who sit in 3rd. They're expected to finish in 9th, so a team expected to be right up there this season. And Newport County currently in 2nd. They were predicted to finish in 7th. So a few teams there that are overachieving that we can take on in tomorrow's episode, but fingers crossed as well, we'll have a matchup in the first round of the FA Cup. And of course, if that goes to a replay, we'll show you guys that as well. So it could be some cup action tomorrow, or Barnet and Newport County. So until then, thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.